I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods Volcano Block. So today we finally get into well wither automation in multiple different fashions actually today, and I hope to be able to dive into hostile neural networks. I know the last couple episodes, that was of course my goal, was to build up to the wither, and of course now we have all of the resources needed in order to get a successful wither automation started. Now a simple way for me to just up and kill the wither is to, well, go to the end and go ahead and go underneath the portal. Oh, it does look like I have myself some stars because I have been killing a couple of withers here. So all you have to do is find the exact center point and then go ahead and lay out some obsidian just like this in this particular pattern, and then just use some soul sand and build your wither sideways. Now this of course is very manual, but I do need to do it manual because I am working on a data model for hostile neural networks. So I just have right clicked the wither, and I am now farming these things with, of course, my sword. And I've already killed a few. And so I'm just working on slowly but surely killing these guys. As you can see, I am perfectly invincible while I'm in this area. And this guy is nice and trapped. Now you can do this in a multitude of different ways. You don't have to go about it this particular way. There are several different means of doing this. I could have also made like a dark or tinted glass and just built like a chamber of tinted glass from mob grinding utils, because this stuff right here is also wither resistant and will withstand all of the damage that it does. But for right now, I want to get hostile neural networks set up, and then we can talk about farming the wither in a different way, and that is going to be gathering ether gas from it. So now with all of the withers required to get ourselves a basic data model from hostile neural networks, it's time to set up our hostile neural network. Yeah, it's not too hard to set up. So right now I have all of this set up. We have some hostile neural networks, and I've gone through a little bit of testing here trying to figure out what was going to be a good way to set these up. And I've gone through modular routers. I kind of played around with that. I also played around with laser IO. Now I did realize something in my testing. Of course, I've been spending a couple of hours working on this, and it sounds crazy for a small machine like this, but I did find out that the loot fabricator works a little bit differently than I thought. So the cool part is you can actually send multiple predictions from this mod, which this, by the way, generates predictions, and it has an output here. So it can generate, for example, a netherite star, but you have to select that when the prediction goes in. The good part is this will remember your selection. So even if you have multiple predictions going in, so long as at some point you have selected what you want, it will allow the prediction to go in and automatically remember that, so it can handle multiple predictions. I didn't know that, and I thought you needed a fabricator for each simulation chamber. Turns out you don't, which makes this automation a whole lot simpler. So what I can do is set up some laser IOs right here, and I think this is going to be one of the best ways to, for one, send power to these machines and to also handle the item transfers, because these are very specific about what sides go the items go and where. So for example, you need to input from the top and you need to pull out from the bottom. So let's go ahead and get this set up, because it's not as bad as you might think. So on the back of the machines, I'm placing all of my laser IO nodes, and what I want is I want my power to be sent to all of them. That's probably the nicest part about using laser IO, is we can send a point. If I can get what I'm looking for, we can take a point and we can actually generate some power here, and we can select that to this side. So we can go ahead and go under the yellow cards, and we'll say, hey, I want to extract. And we can also throw some upgrades in here from laser IO, and it'll do 100,000 per tick, which is pretty darn cool. So under here, we put the max upgrade in, hold down Control and Shift, and we can set this to 100,000 on the transfer rate. That's pretty darn fast. Now for all of the other ones, we're going to go ahead and access this side and simply shift click the card in here, and that is going to make that accept power. And as you can see right here, it's nice and full of power. Now for all of these to be able to communicate with each other, well, we're going to need to hold down Shift on there and then click the next node. And this is going to essentially make them all one connected piping system. And that means, well, we need to transfer this over to the other side. And this is where the laser IO transfer nodes, or the connectors, are going to really play an important role for this. Because I want to make this look kind of clean. So really, I'm going to have some connectors that could be placed a little bit differently, but I'm going to place them like this, and then I can just select this node and connect it here, and then do the same thing over to this node, See, this node, oh, and this node is actually too far away. I honestly wish the range was a little bit further on these. I think in the new update of this, it is a little bit longer of a range, but we can select that there and continue our network over until we've connected to this. And there we go. So all of these are going to be connected to one another, and it's going to be sending that power across all of these. As you can see, the power is now going up all the way onto this one. So now that we have all of them connected, let's start working on the item routing. Now underneath here, we're going to have an importer that is going to be sending the predictions that we need to this setup. So right on the bottom here, I'm going to place down a drawer. This is what's going to accept the predictions that's going to send to all of our setups. As you can see right here, these do require prediction matrices. And then we're also going to need a barrel that is going to end up being our input into our system that is going to receive all of the outputs that we want going to this. For example, the basic predictions that this produces right here, the generalized, and then the output from our predictions. So let's go ahead and set up our exporter that sends the predictions. So for right now, we'll put an export bus on the bottom of this, because I don't know if they actually directly connect up here. I did experience a little bit of problem with the importer. The importer on the laser eye nodes, if you put it directly on here, will actually import the card out of the inventory, which you do not want it to do. So definitely need an inventory buffer, I think, for these, unless you use some sort of other crazy setup. But anyways, back to the export bus. We need to take the predictions here, and we need to send that into this drawer. But we also need to craft them on demand. So when we need some, we want it to craft. So I put a crafting card in here, and I do have the recipe set up inside of a crafter. So with some cables, we can go ahead and get this turned on. So just like so, bam, we have ourselves a cable. Now the import is going to be a lot simpler, as it just needs to go on this inventory, and it just needs to import the items that come into this barrel. Now for this drawer, I do want to put a iron downgrade in here, and that's going to limit this drawer to only a stack of items that could be held at one time inside of this drawer. Meaning we won't end up with like 2,000 predictions inside this drawer. So now for the fun part, item routing. And this can get a little bit complicated, but hopefully I can explain this in the best way possible. And I have covered the laser IO nodes for this particular setup over here, which works very similar to this. However, we need to talk about how these chambers work. So I want to input the predictions from the top. That's important. And we have 8 of them to work with. So if I go ahead and pull these cards out, I can set aside 8 different item cards that we want set on insertion. Now we also need one that is going to be pulling from this drawer. So this card needs to be set to extract, and I'm going to go ahead and set it to 8 for right now. I don't think this is going to be necessary for overclockers, but we'll see as time goes on. So underneath here, we can go ahead and put that item card that is set to a normal channel, and it's going to pull from here, but we need to now define where it's going to send. And so for each of these, we'll just simply put the insertion card, and we should notice that it's starting to go up. Now, none of these machines will accept these items, these predictions, until they actually have a data model in them. So we really don't have to worry about that just yet. However, I will go ahead and get the insertion set up. And it does appear like it doesn't really matter where it's set to. It's accepting it from the back, which is nice. Now, I do think the bottom is where things get exported, and I think we're going to have to define where these get exported from. So now let's go ahead and define the extraction, because this is where things gets a little bit more complicated, because we need to pull from this machine, and there's going to be 2 things it's actually going to be pulling out. So let's go ahead and set up 9 of these, because I did go ahead and change my loot fabricator that was over here to a simulation, giving us 9 simulation chambers. And we can go ahead and set these all up, and these are going to be pulling. So we need to set these extract, make sure they're maximized here, and then we're going to change the channel to 1. This is going to separate it from the insertion channel, and it's going to be a little bit different. However, on this card, we want to set this to pull from the down. I think that is going to be important here, and this is going to go in the exact same slot as everything else, just like so. Now, of course, with this channel pulling things out, we also want to set aside 2 different insertions. And these are also going to need to be on the orange channel, as you can see right here. Now, one of them is going to receive a filter, and this is going to be the first thing we're going to filter. And this filter is going to contain the generalized predictions, and we're going to make sure that's set to an allow. Now, where is this going to send? Well, it's going to send to the bottom of this barrel right here, because we want those particular items to go into our inventory, into our storage. And so that should have now pulled all of the predictions out right there, leaving our wither predictions. Now, the rest of the predictions that do not get filtered out there need to go into the loot fabricator. And so this is going to be kind of important because all we have to do now is put this in here, and this should now be accepting the predictions. And as so long as we click this, it is now going to work. And it is going to be relatively fast and should be able to keep up with all of the things going on in here. Hopefully we can manage this, and this will be fast enough to handle all predictions that start working. But for right now, it's just handling this. If we need to change things later on, we can always add a wall over here of loot fabricators, and we can just make sure to send these to all of the fabricators and sort of spread them out. Now, of course, right now with the loot fabricator setup, we also need to have a new export card and a new insertion card, except this is going to be on another channel, and then we'll set that to 8, and then we'll make sure our new insertion card is set to the same channel. And also make sure the export is pulling from the down of the loot fabricator. And then we'll put that in the loot fabricator section right here. And then the insertion will go down here and will go into this container. And so now we should have nether stars entering into this. And that is now automated. The only thing we need to do now is make sure our import bus is a little bit faster. So that is our only limitation here, aside from our loot fabricator not being fast enough. We'll go ahead and upgrade our speed at which our importer pulls things in. So there we go. So this is technically automated. And as you can see right now, it does take some time for these predictions to process. So we should have plenty of time for these different operations to work for all 9 of these that we will eventually set up. Now that I have nether stars automated with hostile neural networks, well, let's kind of overdo it here and create more nether stars than we'll ever need, and actually set up the wither physically being spawned in and being used. This is going to be pretty cool. Now, to make this easiest, I think the wither builder is the best way to at least summon in the wither physically. But in order to do this, we do need ether gas. So let's go ahead and get this set up with some ether gas and get that produced. Now, this does require the wither to be spawned in, but I do want to do this in a separate dimension. And so in order to do this, it's very simple. Doesn't really require a whole lot except for wireless power and a little bit of infrastructure with industrial foregoing. Now, to get into compact machines, well, we just need some compact machine walls, which is just polished deep slate. Very simple. And then we need to choose what we want. I think just a regular large would be probably more than enough room for us for this particular setup. You know what? Let's just go to make sure. Let's just go to the giant version. And then you also need a personal shrinking device in order to get into this area. Now, we are going to need a few things. I'm going to make some points here. And I think we're going to need one for our stasis chamber. And then we're going to need a few for our lasers. We have 4 laser drills, very similar to setting up the thing that we did over here. So yes, it's pretty much the exact same thing. However, this is going to be mining the wither. So let's go ahead and now head into this new dimension now that I have everything ready to go. And because we're doing like with all kinds of mob stuff here, let's go ahead and just transfer in. You just right click it and it takes you into this empty area. So the main thing I'm going to need here, and the reason I'm doing it in here is because this is wither proof and it is very safe. Now I will need to chunk load this. So I'm going to go ahead and chunk load it, and it does fit itself perfectly inside of a chunk, which is very, very nice. So first things first, stasis chamber. It's going to go right in the center. Now, this is where I would normally spawn, so you need to go off somewhere and shift right click to set your spawn point in a new location. So you don't spawn here where the wither's at next time you come in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and give this a point, and that's going to give this some power, and it should be activated. And of course, when we stand on it, well, we're frozen. Yeah, we can't jump off of it, but yeah, it does give us some horrible, horrible frozen stats. Now, as you can see right here, to put this in the best way I can, let me go ahead and disable this. So we're going to set it with run on pulse. That's perfectly fine. So it should shut off. We need to go up exactly 3 blocks. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, this is where we put the fluid laser base, which is going to be mining the wither. And then we can put our laser drills right next to this. It is best to have some flight, but as you can see right now, I have ran out. But thankfully with the wither, we're going to be able to get flight very soon. So yes, I'm just going to go ahead and place all of these directly on here. And you can of course place more of these. So keep that in mind. You can always have more of the laser drills. so long as the laser fluid base fits within this space for the lasers, you can of course have them extending out further. So pretty darn cool that you can do that, and you can make this go even faster. I'm just going to put speed upgrades on these, which of course will make it go faster as well, but it also uses more power, so keep that in mind. And there we go. So we have all of them set up, and then we also want this to have a purple lens. That's very important. Purple lens has to go in here. I will also go ahead and add some of the upgrades that can actually go inside this machine. We'll put some of the upgrades in here, 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 and last but not least, here as well. And then I'm going to put the power on these. So all of the points can go on these. And then last but not least, a ender tank on the top that is going to be set to light blue that I have right now. And the output here is going to be pushing into that ender tank. That way we can access the fluid, the ether gas that we're going to be generating from this elsewhere. And so don't forget, we got to turn this back on. So just set it back to ignored. And now I can go ahead and build my wither, and it should spawn right here. Of course, I've got to make sure I don't get myself affected by this. But yes, normal wither spawn just like you would normally spawn it. But this stasis chamber is going to make sure this wither never moves from this location and also never changes its state. And so right now we should slowly but surely start to see ether gas building up. And you can see if you look up top, ether gas is now starting to generate. So let's go ahead and get out of this area now that we have that set up. And now we can start to auto craft with that ether gas. And we can use that over here in our just our foregoing area to start making some of the highest tier machine frames. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to place down a jumbo tank that's going to go here, place this on top, and then I can just do this to have it automatically send to the tank. And that way we have a much larger storage that this is going to go onto. And then I'll place my bus on here, make sure to partition this. So that way, even if it becomes empty, it doesn't get filled with anything else. And then attach my cable. And there we go. Now we have ether gas and it's ready to be automated within the dissolution chamber. So perfect. Wither builder, here we come. Man, this is perfect. So I just got to put this inside here. And now we can craft ourselves a wither builder. And this is going to be where things get a little bit powerful and out of hand. So now for physically spawning in the wither and getting it automated. And this is going to be kind of crazy, because there is a little bit of a limitation with the wither builder when it goes to place in the wither. When it places the wither, it needs to take a little bit of time to do the next operation, because if the wither's in the way, it won't place the blocks efficiently. But I think with Ars Nouveau, we can get past that and make this very efficient by summoning in the wither. Hopefully this works. Summoning in the wither and teleporting that wither. Yes, teleporting it into a killing chamber, that is. And hopefully we can do that. So what I'm going to do is use this max size compact machine in order to set this up, because we don't want this going on in our base. I think that would be kind of bad, because we'd have boss bars spawning all the time, and we definitely don't want that happening. So what I want to do is I want to utilize the source here, source stone, and what I can do is set up a corner over here. And this is the cool part. So we can set up a little bit of a corner setup to spawn the wither in. And I'm going to use the source stone to set it up like this and get ourselves a little 3x3 area that the wither will be spawned into. Now, this is where the portal is going to go. And yes, you can lay the portal sideways, which is pretty darn cool. And I want to teleport it to this side over here. In doing so, well, we should be able to maximize the speed on our spawner. So now, interestingly enough, the wither builder actually places the wither up in the air. Now, I don't know if I spawn the wither. I don't think I can spawn it right inside the portal, but it should float down and go directly into the portal, which should work as such. So if I place the wither builder here, we can see exactly where the wither will be built, which will be directly above this portal. So it should spawn it in and immediately drop, allowing me to spawn another one in instantly. And of course, we can protect this area, and we shouldn't have to worry about the wither exploding here, because the wither, when it teleports, will go into a chamber that should allow it to explode there. and not here. But just for safety, I'm going to go ahead and set this up so that there's some sort of protection here. So now to get this to teleport, we just need a regular warp scroll. And so I should be able to warp it directly into the center right where I'm at by shift right clicking, and that's going to set the warp scroll's location. Now I do need a full source jar for this. So now armed with a full source jar, we can place that right there, and I'm just going to toss the scroll in, and as you can see, it put me right into this. And mobs should also get teleported through this. I think even items get teleported, if I'm not mistaken. So if I was to toss the source jar, the item ends up over here. So all entities end up passing through here. And it reminds me a lot of the good old-fashioned draconic portals. So this wither should drop through here, not affect this in any way, and instantly be teleported into the killing chamber that is going to be over here. Now, there's only one way to test this. But first, let's go ahead and get our mob crusher that we have back in our base. And let's get it set up over here. And of course, once this is all up and running, we can get speed upgrades going. This right here, this tank, by the way, we'll be able to get essence from this particular farm. Yep, so I'm going to take all of this. Oh boy, that mob stuff is everywhere. Yeah, I've got to get this organized. Looks like I had a little bit of a problem with this this armory cabinet filling up. So what I've done is I'm using the armory cabinet to I'm just voiding everything that's in the armory cabinet. There's no need for me to keep all of this stuff. So I'm just going to void whatever's in here and send it right to a trash can. So I have both my mob crusher and my wither builder set up, and a way to quickly teleport out of here in case of disaster. But I think we can go ahead and spawn it in and get it to spawn in here, and we should be able to kill it. So if I go ahead and do 3 here and 4 here, place them in, we should be able to watch it happen. It gets teleported, and hopefully this will allow me to put multiple withers all in one location, right? And so we can just constantly have this going because it transferred it instantaneously. Then it does its explosion bit and it's immediately killed. And so all we got to do is put some speed upgrades in here, some speed upgrades in this, and this will be transferring probably faster than we can generate wither skulls and soul sand. So now to get the items from our system to here. So let's go ahead and define a wither skeleton skull here and soul sand here. And unfortunately, I'm not producing a whole lot of soul sand, so I'm going to have to get an automated soul sand setup going because our chickens just won't be able to keep up. But we can just use our old-fashioned setup for the soul sand. So, or we can use mystical agriculture. That might be a fast way of doing it. But for right now, let's get what we have going, and all of our residual soul sand will be able to go. So we need to get some exporters on these modular routers, and you might be kind of confused. Chosen, why are you using modular routers? You got to get things cross-dimensional, right? Well, that is kind of where modular routers comes into play, right? This is pretty darn cool. So we can actually do some speed upgrades here inside of our modular routers, and we should be able to export cross-dimensionally. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and take our personal shrinking device. We'll head back in, and we need to select our wither builder with some cinder MK3s. Now, MK3s are cross-dimensional. So right here, I have the 2 faces set, and this should accept. So as soon as we head back, all we got to do is put this in. Now, I do have this machine turned off for right now, but when we put these in, that should start sending, and this should also start sending into that compact machine. Now, I think I need to still chunk load this area because I don't think it's chunk loaded. Well, my base is chunk loaded, and you can see now that the skulls and everything are inside of here. So let's make sure that this area is selected and chunk loaded, and now we should be good. So now I have all of this set up and is sending. And then what I need to do over here is basically take these out, and I want to send them into the same place everything else is going. So I am going to need another tier 3 exporter to just simply export from the mob crusher and send it over there. And then I'm going to use an ender tank, I think, for the essence that this is generating. So, and just like that, I'll select the barrel like so. And so that barrel is selected, and then back in here, all we have to do is set up our modular routers and make sure that this is accepting and sending anything that this produces, sending and pushing to the modular router. And then that will just simply send that to the barrel, which is connected to our importer. So all in all, pretty darn cool. And then we can take our ender chest or ender tank here, and we can go ahead and send our essence into the ender tank. And then of course we'll manage that on our network. So this should be set up and ready to go. We just need to add some speed upgrades into this and add them into both machines. So now with the speed upgrades in, oh boy, we're almost ready to go. I got everything set up and going as fast as it can. As soon as I pull this lever, things are probably going to get kind of wild. Oh my goodness. Yep. This is what I was saying is going to be incredibly powerful. Almost too powerful. That's how fast we are now generating withers. Oh boy, can I turn it off? Ah! The wither damage is just too much. I gotta stand all the way over here. Oh boy. Thankfully, we don't have to be in this dimension. But that is producing nether stars at a tremendous rate. Oh, wow. Oh, no, they got out. Oh, no. How did they get out? I have no idea. But they did. Somehow. Maybe I can get them down here? Come down here. Maybe they will follow me. Come down here. There we go. That one's down. Okay, maybe the box needs to be a little bit bigger. I don't know how they escaped, but they did. Oh, that's not good. Well, I think I know why. It's because I didn't have the top of this fully capped off, and somehow they managed to get through that. And I don't know if there's a there shouldn't be a redstone control on the portal, but there actually might be redstone control on the portal. Now that I look at it, that's not good. But if I turn this back on, we should be able to leave, and I'm going to let it run for a little bit, and I'm going to come back, and hopefully it just works, and I can kind of not have to monitor it. But hopefully I don't come back to an entire room filled with withers. Then the project is scrapped. So yeah, it's definitely working. I'm just kind of weary to teleport back in. Oh man. Good. They are working. I think though it is the redstone control that if I shut it off, I think it might actually shut these portals off. So by the way, I did manage to figure out a fix for the withers coming out of the machine, and all you have to do is basically set up another portal up top in between, and it does seem like this is fixing the issue. So I'm going to go ahead and do this because they like to fly up, and I think that is the problem I'm having. So I'll place down a source jar, and then I should be able to warp the scroll. There we go. And now we have another one that is going up top, and this should solve the entire problem that I'm having. There we go. And so once this is turned on, they should definitely teleport over. Now, of course, at this point, I'm already out of soul sand. That didn't take very long, but I have a ton of nether stars at this point. Already 546, which is quite a bit, but we are going to need 15 times 3 just to make one all-the-modium star. So the sooner I can get this, the sooner we have those. Now, of course, we can use these stars for a ton of different things, including creative flight, so I can't wait to get that all set up. And I was also looking, and I think haunting might be one of our best ways of getting soul sand. We can just haunt the sand that we have, and we can use create to do that, and it's actually very easy to do. But we're going to have to work on that next episode because we are definitely out of time today. Now, of course, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was everything wither related. Like, we literally automated like all of the major wither stuff and all done in one episode, which is kind of interesting, kind of crazy on my end. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you learned something new. Of course, I do enjoy like messing around with new ways of doing things and not always doing it the exact same. So even though we use some of the same machines, we did it in a different method, I would say. Honestly, it reminds me of the old method that I used to use when Draconic Evolution had the portals, where you teleport the wither to another location for killing. It just makes it a lot more convenient and a lot faster. But guys, of course, if you did enjoy and you learned something new, click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. Of course, I hope to see you in the next episode, and it is now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's video. And that huge thanks is going to go out to Lonely Angel. Thank you so much for your amazing support, by the way, over in the Discord, becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today. Of course, I hope to see you in the next episode, and join the Discord, discord.gg/ChosenArchitect, and become a member today. I really appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.